Hello and welcome back to At the Seams Patterns. My name is Tanya, and in this video tutorial I will be taking you through the steps to complete the Penelope Halter dress. Looking to stand out at your next party or function, the Penelope Halter dress is the perfect style to turn heads at your next event. This dress features a flattering halter neckline with a functional necktie, allowing you to adjust the fit for comfort and style. The open back creates a striking, sophisticated silhouette, balanced beautifully by a cinched waist and a double-layer circular skirt, which completes the dreamy, floaty, feminine look of the dress. Optional horsehair braid can also be added to the hem for a more dramatic look. The dress fastens with a centre-back invisible zipper, ensuring a clean, polished finish. Perfect for any special occasion, this design is elegant, feminine, and the perfect conversation starter when people ask, "Oh my god, where did you buy that dress?" To make the Penelope Halter dress, you will need the following materials. Paper pattern, the link to purchase will be in the description box below. 2.5 meters to 3.3 meters of main fabric, 0.5 meters to 0.6 meters of lining fabric, 0.15 meters to 0.25 meters of interfacing, a 15 centimeter invisible zipper and thread to match, ensuring you also have enough to thread your overlocker, plus 2-inch wide horsehair braid, if you are choosing to add this to the hem. You will also need the following tools: scissors or rotary cutter and mat, pins, sewing machine, an invisible zipper foot and regular zipper foot, plus an overlocker and an iron. Cut all main, lining and interfacing pieces accurately on the correct grain, ensuring all notches are clipped. Also remember to notch or match the center front of the top and bottom of the bodice and the top edge of the front of the upper and lower skirt. Please note that all seam allowance is marked on the pattern in a grey dashed line and can also be found on page 3 of the booklet provided with the purchase pattern. Also, if you need help with pattern cutting instructions, these can be found in the same booklet. Fuse the interfacing to the front neckband pieces and the waistband pieces. You can skip this step if you are using heavier weight fabrics, however it is recommended for lightweight fabrics. Pin the neck darts closed on the front bodice lining. Then stitch closed with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Press the seam allowance towards the center front. Sew 2 rows of gathering thread across the top edge of the main front bodice. I like to use bright contrasting threads for gathering threads. This makes them easier to see and remove later. If you need extra help with gathers, there is a more in-depth tutorial on my website. I will link this in the description box below. Place the bodice main and lining right sides together and pin along the side edges. Stitch closed with a 1 cm seam allowance. Remember to remove your pins as you sew so that you do not bend or break your sewing needle, which can damage your machine. Then clip the curves, then turn through and press the edges flat. Gather the main top edge to match the lining top edge. Ensure the center front of the main and lining match to keep the gathers distributed evenly. Stitch in place to hold with a larger stitch 5 mm from the edge. Then remove the gathering threads. Stay stitch the bottom edge of one of the front collar pieces. This will help prevent it from stretching when you sew. It will also give you a guide when pressing. Place the front of the collar and the back neck ties right sides together and pin along the short edge. Repeat with the inside pieces. You should end up with 2 long separate necktie pieces. Stitch closed with a 1 cm seam allowance. Then press the seams open. Fold the bottom edge of the front collar that has been stay stitched and press in place between the 2 notches, then set aside. Pin the other side of the collar to the front of the bodice, right sides together, ensuring the center front notches match. Stitch closed with a 1 cm seam allowance. Then press the seam allowance towards the collar. Pin the 2 collar pieces right sides together and pin along all edges, excluding the neck edge that has been stitched. Starting on one side of the neck, stitch closed using a 1 cm seam allowance. Stitch all the way to the tie end, across the top and back down the other side until you get to the other side of the front neck edge. When sewing around corners, leave the needle down in the fabric, then lift the foot to pivot the fabric, then lower the foot and continue to sew. This will ensure you have sharp, neat corners. Clip the corners of the ties and the curves on the front collar and turn the ties through, then press flat. You will now be able to tuck the front neck seam allowance into the collar and secure the pressed edge in place to hide the seam allowance. Then stitch the opening closed. This can be done by machine, or for a neater, invisible finish, you can sew this by hand. For this tutorial, I will be sewing by hand. Place the front and back pieces of the upper skirt right sides together and pin at the side seams. Stitch closed using a 1 cm seam allowance. Overlock the seam closed from the front of the skirt. Then, while at your overlocker, overlock each side of the centre back edge separately from the right side of the fabric. Press the seam allowance towards the back. Repeat steps 26 to 30 on the lower skirt. Run 2 rows of gathering thread across the top edge of the upper skirt. Then gather the upper skirt to fit the top edge of the lower skirt. Use the notches on the pattern to ensure the gathers are spread evenly. Also check that the side seams match. Stay stitch the top edges of the skirt together to hold in place. Then remove the gathering threads. Pin the skirt to the waistband right sides together. Stitch in place with a 1 cm seam allowance. Then press the seam allowance upwards. If you need extra help with invisible zippers, there is a more in-depth tutorial on my website. I will link this in the description box below. Prepare your invisible zipper for sewing by pressing it open. Lay the skirt down on the table right side up and pin the zipper onto the edges. Ensure that your zipper is facing the correct way. It can help to mark the wrong side of the zipper with chalk. Stitch to secure with an invisible zipper foot. Double check the zipper has been attached the correct way. This is also a good time to check the fit of your garment and make any changes if required. Next, pin the seam allowance of the centre back seam closed below the zipper on both the upper and lower skirt. Stitch closed with a 1 cm seam allowance. Using a regular zipper foot will help you stitch closer to the bottom of the zipper stitching. This is explained in more detail in my invisible zipper tutorial. Then press the seams open. At the same time, press the zipper seams flat. Fold the bottom edge of the waistband lining over 0.5 centimeters and press flat. Open the center back zipper fully, then pin the bodice to the top of the skirt waistband so that right sides are facing. Then pin the waistband lining on top, right side down, so the bodice will be sandwiched between the two waistband pieces. Stitch the seam closed with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Then pin the ends of the waistband to the zipper. Then stitch the end of the lining waistband down on the center back zipper. Clip the corners above the zipper and fold the waistband pieces down. This will bag out the zipper on the waistband, creating a neater finish. Then press the top edge of the waistband. Then pin the back of the waistband down, encasing the seam allowance. To secure the waistband lining on the bottom edge, stitch in the ditch of the lower waistband seam, catching the waistband lining into the stitching on the back. Stitch the horsehair braid to the right side of the upper skirt using a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Overlap the ends by 1 to 2 centimeters. Then fold the horsehair braid under and press to flatten the curves with your iron on a low setting. For this tutorial, I have covered the ends of my horsehair braid with interfacing, or you can also do this with scrap fabric. Then stitch 5mm from the bottom edge, then 5mm from the top edge of the horsehair braid to secure. For a more elevated, expensive look, you can attach the top edge of the horsehair braid with an invisible hand-sewn stitch instead of a visible machine stitch. Repeat steps 54 to 56 on the lower skirt. Your garment is now complete. Please feel free to contact me if you need any extra help. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe below to stay up to date with all new pattern releases. Thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial.